Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jamie and Jonna Naegele. In terms of your field, how hard was it trying to break through the industry?
It's definitely not for the faint. It's very hard. Whether you get a call back in, whether you don't book the job or what have you, as long as you put your greatest effort and leave it all out there, and you can walk away and say, I did that. And I think that that's what I try to instill in my students.
Did anyone close to you minimize or dismiss the journey you were on?
Yeah. People have always seen you a certain way, and they don't necessarily want you to be anything different than what they've seen you as. And the moment you step outside what they're used to, it makes them uncomfortable, especially if you're skyrocketing.
Yes. Jonna, at what point did you first feel overlooked?
A lot of times I have been interrupted. I feel like when we talk about overlooked, it comes from that place, like of she's educated, she's knowledgeable. Yes, she may have some nuggets, but everybody else on this panel, we got to give them the credit.
What advice do you have for someone or couples who feel unseen in their marriage or their job or their creative pursuits?
If you don't know who you are, how can the world know who you are? Because the world has been telling you who you are for your entire life.
Yes.
And so until you decide to pick up the pen and rewrite that story for yourself, you're always going to be a victim of the narrative that other people have given you.
Stay tuned. Let's get started. Overlooked. Sometimes things can be unfair. They can be so unfair that at times you can feel overlooked. This is a personal matter to me. I've been overlooked. I've been rejected. But I want to be on a mission to help you to understand your purpose so you never feel overlooked again, that your voice will be heard, and that this will be your season. I am Apostle Dwight Buckner Jr. Tune in. Let's get started. The Overlooked Show.
Today's guests are Jamie and Jonna Naegele, a powerhouse couple bonded by purpose, perseverance, and passion for storytelling. Jamie is an international best-selling author, speaker, and actor who walked away from a career in engineering to pursue healing and personal growth. He lost 90 pounds, fought through anxiety and depression, and found his purpose by investing in his own transformation. His book is now the foundation for a coaching and course platform, helping others reclaim their lives. Jonna, she's trained hundreds across the U.S. and Africa and continues to challenge the industry's norms by demanding craft, discipline, and truth from her students. A former model turned educator, Jonna's journey spans from caregiving and overlooked beginnings to building her own acting university and platform. Together, they represent what happens when healing meets calling, when overlooked people become undeniable forces. Thank you all for being on the Overlooked Show on today. Glad to have both of you. I want to start, Jamie, by asking you some questions here. Take us back to the moment you quit your engineering job. What pushed you away?
I think I just was sold this life of go to college, get a job, have a career, without ever thinking about, is this what I wanted to do? And I think I reached this moment where I was just looking at myself and I was unhealthy mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I found that most of my day was absorbed in negativity. And so I felt like something had to change. And I took a leap of faith and decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I know I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes.
Let's go find out what it is that I do want to do.
Yes.
So it was very scary because you're leaving a career, you're leaving a pretty healthy paycheck to not have that anymore, that stability.
Right.
But it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Right. So. And you took that time to work, to do some self-discovery, and you lost 90 pounds.
Yeah.
How was that for you mentally to go through that journey and lose 90 pounds and to get used to the new you, so to speak?
Yeah, it was, one of my proudest moments was during that journey. I remember when I was in the thick of it, and you set goals for yourself. Before I didn't have. I never did that. I never had discipline.
Yes.
And I remember one night I went from engineering to just serving to figure out, make a little money while I was figuring things out. And I worked a double shift and was just dead tired, but I still had to do leg day. And I came home at midnight and I didn't want to do it, but I decided I was going to do it. So I ate something, and then at 2 a.m. I did it, and for an hour, and it was the most grueling, hardest thing I did during that journey. But it solidified for me a transformation that I'm willing to do what it takes to change. And so that entire process changed me dramatically, just from how I looked at myself to how I felt.
In your life where you didn't want to leave your apartment.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit.
I think I got so comfortable doing the same thing over and over again. I started to feel a vast amount of anxiety outside of the routine. And something simple as going to a grocery store. I felt judged everywhere I went, even though people were probably not even looking at me.
Yeah.
I had this social anxiety that wherever I went outside of the routine, I could start to feel panic attacks at certain places. And I had to hold myself and not actually allow myself to go there.
Had you had that happen before, or this was just something new that was developing with these panic attacks?
No, it happened kind of after college. I went through some things that caused me to see the world a little differently. And I had to feel like I had to start protecting myself from things. So with that protection comes the anxiety of not having that internally. And I think the entire lifestyle or comfortability can create anxiety outside of anything outside of that normal routine. And I was very afraid to really do anything outside of that comfort zone. And part of the spiritual path for me was listening to my intuition, which allowed me to get outside my comfort zone.
Right.
And the minute I started doing that, the anxiety started to go away. As soon as I started to face the fear, it started to dissipate. And the more I did that,
when you faced the fear,
when I faced the fear,
started to dissipate.
Whatever it was. I mean, even if it was talking to a stranger, like just starting a conversation because I'm afraid to get rejected. Oh, he doesn't want to talk to me. Whatever it was, something as simple as that.
Wow.
As I started doing that little by little, wherever I went, I can talk to anyone now. I'm not afraid to have conversations anymore. I'm not afraid to be rejected or to be.
Wow.
And the more you do that, you expand your comfort zone to where now I'm on stage as an actor. I can speak. I can do all these different things from that place.
Wow, what a freedom. What a freedom.
Yes, absolutely.
What role did acting and storytelling play in your healing journey?
I didn't start acting until after I was healed.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't get into it until
acting didn't heal you. You didn't start acting until you got healed.
Yes, and it does heal certain aspects of you, especially the technique that she coaches. It takes you looks at certain aspects, but not, I think, probably stuff that you deal with on a normal basis, right? Some of the things that I had going on internally, I had healed myself at the time I got into acting, and I don't think I would have kept with it had I not had developed some confidence along the way.
Sure.
I think the rejection of acting, I probably would have quit had I not healed to the point that I had when I started.
Wow. Wow. So the healing took place. Then you're stepping on stages, remembering lines, acting, performing, doing what you need to do after the healing takes place.
Yeah.
Wow. And a more confident person,
Correct.
more secure person, knowing you went through this, or you're going through this transformation journey and your life is changing. This is amazing. All right. Good, good. Jonna,
Yes.
you went from caregiver to model to coach.
Yeah.
At what point did you first feel overlooked?
I'd have to say feeling overlooked was really when I started getting into the thick of inspiring others and encouraging and becoming this kind of symbol of empowerment through my students. And I think that the overlookedness for me came when I started recognizing that I had purpose, and this was my purpose. And so when that purpose kind of tapped in, I started feeling like, I now have to push harder. I feel like I need to be even stronger. I feel like the battle is now more real. So growing up, I just accepted what was. I grew up on a farm. I grew up in a small town, very racist town. My family, the Crutchfields, is a known family in Lebanon, Tennessee. My grandfather bought 200 acres of earth and gated us all in. So we all lived on different hills. My uncles were my neighbors, and to protect us. And so I grew up, in this community of safety within my family. But anytime I had to go to school or, into town, it was just a different kind of process that I had to carry myself. So honestly, I didn't start becoming self-aware of my capabilities, of my purpose, until I got into the craft. So speak about journeys, like the journey for me, acting was healing for me, and my journey was very healing. And so I think the overlook started happening when I knew that I had a mission, that I kept the faith throughout all of these different obstacles and trials in my life, and pushed forward, but then, not really getting it's not even credit, but the recognition because of my position as a Black woman in this industry here in Georgia. And others, I go to LA and others, but it started here primarily in Georgia. And so I oftentimes am still one of the only, if not women, but Black women on the panels that I attend.
Wow.
And so in speaking about things that I'm knowledgeable about, or, trying to educate, a lot of times I have been interrupted, or, like the comments that would come out would be really, some important insight, but it would just be like, okay, moving on, kind of that impression. And so I feel like when we talk about overlooked, it comes from that place, like of she's educated, she's knowledgeable. Yes, she may have some nuggets, but everybody else on this panel, we got to give them the credit. So, yeah, that's something that I still deal with. I think it's a lot less now in my career, but it's not been that long ago where I have to continue to fight to continue to enforce my purpose.
Interesting. So let me ask you this here. Winning Tennessee's top model wasn't even supposed to happen.
Right.
What did it teach you about taking chances?
It taught me a lot. One, continue to listen to grandmama. So if it wasn't for my grandmother at the time, I was taking care of her. She was going through cancer treatments. She ended up passing away of cancer, but she gave it a long battle of about 3 years fighting hard. And so at that time of my life, I had moved back to take care of her. I was about 22 years old and had my son at that time, my first son. And our routine would be, I'd fix her a bowl of Frosted Flakes if that was the only thing that she would want to eat and keep down. And I'd fix her Frosted Flakes. I kind of sweep up, but I put on America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks. That was our thing. And we'd sit down after I'd swept up and, did everything for her. We'd sit down and watch America's Next Top Model. So we really got into that. That was our time. We enjoyed it. We laughed. We, talked crazy. And I took over a lot of secretary work for her. My family owned a construction company. And so she managed everything for the company paperwork-wise, but I took that over when she got sick. And so it was one day I actually went to the bank to go deposit funds and to create checks for all the workers. And I saw a flyer that said Tennessee's Top Model.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, wow. So I took it back, showed Grandma. I was like, they're doing it in different states and they're doing it in Tennessee. How funny is that? She said, Lita Lou, you better go try out for that thing. I said, Grandmama, look at the requirements. You have to be 5'9". I'm 5'5" with some wedges. You need to be 18, 18, no older than 21. 21 was the cutoff. I was 22.
Okay.
So 18 to 21 was like the prime, what they were looking for. And some sort of modeling experience. I had none. The only experience I had was watching America's Next Top Model at that time. Yeah, and looking at Victoria's Secret runway shows. Okay. So that was about the length of my experience. And but she taught me into it. She said it would just really make everything for me if you just went and just tried. Just try out.
Wow.
So I went to the county fair where they had the first round of tryouts. I tried out. I made it to the top 10. And so in the top 10 of the whole state, they brought in everybody from different counties into the whole state. So that was just the county. And so the big competition was about a couple of weeks later, and they brought everyone from different counties in. So there was a total of 55 contestants that they brought in from the different counties. And long story short, I won it. I just studied really hard. I watched as many Victoria's Secret runway videos as I could and brushed up on all of the information Tyra Banks was sharing through America's Next Top Model, and prayed with my grandmama a lot about it. And it was a lot of prayer. And so I ended up winning the title of 2008. And it was actually the first year that Tennessee's Top Model was an organization. They did it a couple years after that, but I was the very first winner to take the crown.
Wow. So your grandmother was very influential.
Very, very influential.
In you trying out for Top Model and you making it.
Yeah.
It's amazing the advice your grandparents can give you and how they can push you to move forward.
Very true. And one of the winnings actually was free acting classes. So that's actually when I took the free acting class, I said, oh, I want to do this.
Yes.
So that's where that took off.
Yeah.
So
it led you into your purpose and what you're doing now.
Correct.
Good. Well, this is good. Let's take a break. I'm Apostle Dwight Buckner Jr., Overlook Show with our wonderful guests, Jamie and Jonna. We'll come right back. All right, we're back here at the Overlook Show. I want to continue on with you a little bit, Jonna, then we'll get back to you, Jamie. Jonna, what was it like trying to break through in the industry in terms of your field? How hard was it trying to break through the industry?
It's definitely not for the faint. It's very hard. It's very hard. For myself as well, I put myself in the mindset always that what you put out, as long as you're confident about it, as long as you feel like you can leave it all out on the table and walk away and feel proud of yourself for the work that you put in, nothing else matters. Whether you get a call back in, whether you, don't book the job or what have you, as long as you put your greatest effort and leave it all out there and you can walk away and say, I did that. That was, that's kind of the mindset that I had to decide early on to take on. So I do think it's difficult for a lot of actors, which is why I'm so passionate about coaching all ages.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that is very commonly struggled with, because naturally, if you're not self-aware of yourself, you're seeking validation from everything external, everything outside of you. Right. And I've been there, I've experienced it. But when I tapped into the reverse, that I validate me, and I know the work ethic I put in, and I feel like I showed up my greatest version of me today, then nothing else can waver your abilities. Nothing else can waver your purpose and what's in store for you. And you just have to trust that. And be patient with that. Patience is a word that a lot of people do not want to accept, but it's necessary. And patience don't mean just time ticking on the clock. It means having the faith, staying consistent with, what your goals are, and staying on the path of those goals, and making sure that you continue to care for yourself, like self-care, a lot of self-care. And I think that that's what I try to instill in my students as much as I can.
Good. So let me segue here. In the past, you may have a time or two been labeled as an NFL wife in the past. How did that impact your sense of identity? Yeah,
it impacted it tremendously, because I, in my own right,
with all of that gifting,
all of that, From the beginning, I earned everything that I stepped into. It was oftentimes the impression that I would not have the attention or the network or the platform if it wasn't for my title of NFL, being an NFL wife. So oftentimes I walk into events that I was invited to as a celebrity, and excited because Jonna has showed up with credential and accolades that I earned, but no one knew my name. I was the NFL wifey, and it's like, I have a name.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with this. Right. So,
and I'm gifted, and I'm called.
Very much. Very much. So.
Wow. Did you ever feel the pressure while being labeled that to shrink your dreams and to just follow that other path instead of, doing what you felt called to do? Did you ever feel like, what, let me hold back on my dreams right now since everything's focused here?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, because I still ring loudly the spirit of my grandmother.
I like that.
Like from day one, Lita Lou. This is you've earned this. This is what you are doing. This is your purpose. So while there is that pressure and feeling like, certain chapters of my life, I felt like I've had bearing thumbs just pressing me down, and I could not continue to grow. I just refused. And I would always say this may be just a very little bit that I can do at this point, but I'm going to keep on doing. And I'm going to just, by every means necessary, I'm going to keep moving forward. So that would be a big no. To that.
Wow. Jamie, you've made some very big sacrifices. One of them including selling your car to attend a workshop. How did it feel when you made those moves? Did it pay off?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that instance in particular, so I first started acting October 2020. Okay. And the first week, the instructor had this book. It was called The Power of the Actor. And I felt like I should get that book, but I didn't execute on it. Right. Next week, it's a different teacher who says the same thing, picks up this book out of nowhere and says, Power Actor, you need to get it. So at that point, I was like, I got to get this book. So I read it, I devour it, and I'm like, I love this book. And I find out that there is a Chubbuck instructor who teaches this book named Jonna Johnson. And so November of 2020, I walk into her classroom.
Look at that.
and at the time was just a student and admired everything she was doing in her classroom. Loved everything. Loved being a part of just some of the amazing actors who were sharing their stories and things that I had never experienced before. They had gone through, and
So her book led you to her.
Ivana Chubbuck's book is is the Chubbuck technique that she is the accredited instructor for Atlanta.
Wow.
Yes. So I fell in love with the technique, and my goal was to get into her master's class. And in order to get into her master's class, you got to do 12 classes. Well, I guess no one had asked this before, but I said, can I take 2 or 3 classes a month and get in faster? And she says, it's 12 classes, not 12 months. So I took 2 to 3 classes every month and was one of the first people to audition within 6 or 7 months, and passed the audition, got into the class, and a couple weeks after I get into Masters, she had said, she reached out and said, hey, we're going on this LA trip to go see Ivana Chubbuck and to train with her in our person. It's our first one. Someone just dropped out randomly. Would you like to come? It's $3,500 that I didn't have at the time. And I said, yes, I'm going. Wow. And I really had no idea to come up with the money except for, let me just sell my car. And I'll sell it, and I'll downgrade, and I'll get a cheaper one later. So I sold my car and went on the trip, and Ivana Chubbuck had actually forced her to be an actress, not just a coach on the trip.
Wow.
And then assigned us to an intimate scene. And in that process, through that scene, we both shared something with each other that we had never shared with anyone else before. Yeah. And that led to one thing to another, and that's how we got together. From making the sacrifice of just like knowing that this is such an amazing opportunity for my career, not knowing it would lead to
was this your first intimate scene?
It wasn't a intimate scene in that way. Okay. It was more of a chemistry, building chemistry, and
it was actually a argument scene,
yeah.
High conflict from when a man loves a woman. So we were arguing.
We were arguing.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And intimate. Part of the technique is you have to connect with each other emotionally in some ways, and so the intimacy came from that, and just us sharing something that we had never told anyone before to each other, and accepting each other with that, and not judging. So that kind of snowballed into what we have today. Yeah. So selling my car looking back, is not even a sacrifice at this point because of how much beauty it's led to. So.
Wow. Well, the sacrifices pay off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you this. In the early stages of your transformation, did anyone close to you minimize or dismiss the journey you were on?
Yeah. I think when you start to change, people have always seen you a certain way, and they don't necessarily want you to be anything different than what they've seen you as. And the moment you step outside what they're used to, it makes them uncomfortable, especially if you're skyrocketing.
Yes.
And so within that journey, people you love start to challenge that. They start to put doubt in your mind, and they start to say things all with the intention in their heads of just trying to protect you from not getting hurt. Because what ends up happening is they look at you trying to accomplish something, and they say to themselves, they see it as, I can't accomplish that, so I don't think you can either. Let me try and protect you. And they project their own self-doubt onto you. And I think you can take that in one of two ways. You can downgrade and stay the same, or you can just fight through it and continue to be great. At the end of the day, who's ever meant for you is going to be in your life still, and whoever's not is going to fall by the wayside. And you've got to be able to accept that. If they love you enough, then they'll continue to be in your life, and if they don't, they'll drop off.
Yeah.
So,
And to add to what you said, I think a lot of times, particularly people that are envious or jealous of your transformation and the changes that you've made, some people have only saw you in this one box, okay? And when you begin to break out of that box, it changes their plan that they had for you. And so you have broken all of the norms, all of their stereotypes about you, and you've pushed past all of that and built up your self-confidence, and the both of you together are transforming into this remarkable, admirable couple. Even the way you all met with coaching and the books and all that stuff, and that leading to something else is just an amazing journey.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's an amazing journey. And it's just great to see how you two come together. I think you two should write a book, really. This is amazing. Let's go here now. When did each of you realize that I'm more than just being overlooked? That people keep trying to overlook me and reject me, but I'm gonna put my foot on this. I'm gonna push forward in my dreams despite me not getting opportunities. And I think one of the worst things that can happen to us, besides losing a loved one, is knowing you're real gifted and creative, and somebody deliberately ignoring what you have to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. So how'd you guys push past all of your adversity, not just individually, but even together now, being this beautiful couple?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think for me, when something speaks to you so loudly inside, the rest on the outside becomes noise. And I think rejection, I've heard been said before, is just redirection. And what that means is if someone is telling you no now, it just means find a different way, find a different path. And I think for me, when I transitioned into acting, that became one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done is acting. I absolutely love acting. I can never see myself doing anything other than that.
Wow.
And so I think when you have something inside of you that is so loud when it's quiet, when you're in a room by yourself and no one else is there, and that's all you hear, you're going to have to walk into rooms where it's going to be loud. That the room is going to be sometimes louder than what's inside of you, and you have to remember what that is and ignore the rest, and just continue to find the room that that voice is yelling at you louder than. Where then at that point you can walk with courage and confidence into what you have as your gift.
Yeah. Just to add to what you said. That thing speaking loudly in you when the room is quiet. Before I even knew that I was called to ministry years ago, I would literally be in my room practicing like I was preaching. And here it is, at that time, have never read the Bible, just kind of casually going along with life, feeling this urge to want to. And so I think when God gives you a particular gift, there's this passion and this desire that it's going to always burn, no matter what's going on around you. Internally, you're going to always have that drive and passion to go towards what you feel in your spirit. Yeah. And you, Jonna?
Absolutely, yeah. And just really in the same light of that, I feel like for me, I'm haunted when I'm not doing my passion. And so, I've had 4 children, and with caring for them and, just being on my side of the spectrum as an actress, it takes time to get myself back to physical ability, to building stamina, endurance, So after having my last child, my 2-year-old now, I was coaching, and I coach. I mean, you can coach I was coaching, I think, in labor. I was coaching through text, man. Like I don't stop. But for acting, there's such a burning passion to act that when I'm not doing it, I'm literally having nightmares. It is haunting me.
Wow.
And so I think that is something that, that just stuck with me on, you can't give it up. Like you're an actress. Like you're meant to tell stories, to share your story through the craft of other characters and character development. And there's just such a fascination with that process with me that I just absolutely adore. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
This is good. We're going to take a break here. I'm Apostle Dwight, Overlooked Show, with our wonderful guests, Jamie and Jonna, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back here at the Overlooked Show with our wonderful guests, Jamie and Jonna. Let me ask you both a question. What role has your partnership played in your individual healing and growth?
You may start that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
I think that the partnership that we have for personal development for me is obviously trusting again. There's a lot of trauma and pain that comes with past relationships. And then so that ability to trust and have strong faith that this is, something that is in your line of life.
Yes.
This is in your path, and you just have to really trust that. And I think that for me, developing wise, I had to continue to grow in that area of
trust,
of lots of trust, but faith, like having the faith that trusting is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Because you can become vulnerable. There's a
Yes.
lot of vulnerability. When you pick yourself back up from rock bottom and you're in a space of like, okay, I can be independent and just do this and take care of my children.
Yeah.
It's difficult to welcome another individual, which Jamie did so gracefully in taking ownership of his stepchildren. We have 3 stepchildren and one child together, but really just, trusting him to be that presence for them as well was very growthful for me.
Yes.
Excuse me. Sorry. When we first got together and we first met, I was basically a bachelor living in a 500 square foot apartment. And within 6 months, when we moved in together, I was the man of a house, of a 5,000 square foot house with 3 children.
Wow.
That shift was so challenging for me. Naturally.
Yes.
Never had children before. The amount of growth that I had to go through in a very short period of time was a lot.
Yes.
And I think she did a wonderful job as being as patient and as loving with the right amount of kicking my butt when I needed to grow from being a boy into a man. Because I think you don't know this if you're in it in your 20s, but I think when you become a man when you start to be responsible for something.
Yes.
Whether that's a business of people who go the entrepreneur CEO route, maybe don't have children, but as someone who, the fastest way is to become a family man. That's when you become a man, you have to be responsible for something just outside of yourself. So that amount of growth that I had to go through, was also healing too. I mean, there's a certain level of relaxation and just being able to go with the flow. And, when you have a family, you don't have that luxury. You have to grow financially, spiritually, physically, mentally. Have to for the benefit of the children as well. Yeah. So that was very.
And then there's some things when you get married you didn't even know that you didn't know how to do. Like when I got married, according to my wife, I didn't know how to drive. She tells me everywhere to go. Back up here, slow down. I had to get used to her instruction, but it was love. It was love, and that's a part of marriage, is accepting the fact, hey, we don't do everything well, but partnering.
Yeah. Well, there's two types of people. There's the person who likes to have everything mapped out as they're about to leave the door. They have everything planned in their head exactly how they want it to go.
Yeah.
So they can leave and be there on time 30 minutes earlier. And then there's the person who, at the very last minute, is grabbing everything that they need possibly to rush out the door and be barely 10 minutes late. And then they marry each other. And then they got to figure out, which is I'm the be 10 minutes late. She's the 30 minutes early. And so how do you, how do you adapt and adjust to suit everyone and compromise? And which strength and which of each partner do you follow, which lead? So it's a lot of that, and you have to compromise and let go of how you do things in order to grow and to keep going.
And I think overall, just as a couple, there's a lot of compassion that evolved. It's hard when you're separate. You are focused on you and everything that you need to do in a given day to be able to lay your head down at night and feel complete. But then compassion with each other, there's bending, there's flexibility, and I think that's a beautiful human skill that you're able to carry just in your other day-to-day relationships and handling people and in business and in work, so I think as a partnership, him and I really learned the strength of compassion.
Yeah, and I've learned, talking about partnership, me and my wife have been married, well, soon it'll be 15 years, and what I've learned is we work way better together than apart.
Yeah.
The blessing of us having two different minds is my wife has always been stronger in the areas where I was weak. And I'm stronger in the areas where she's weak.
Right.
So that blend, that perfect blend of differences comes in, and you're like, well, what would she do at this time, and what would he do? And so this is the beauty of partnership, and then you guys both being able to work together through your careers, but you coaching and acting, him acting, and things of all that it's a blessing. And I'd be crazy to say if it wasn't frustration.
For sure.
There's going to be some frustration, but to be able to navigate through all that and still, make it happen for the bigger picture is a blessing.
Very true.
I talked to some of our producers here, Rhonda, and even Dre and Carlotta. Dre and Carlotta, they have a business together, and I look at how they work together as a couple. And I love my wife, but if we had a business together, I think we would have, it would have lasted about a good week, and then we would have did something else. I applaud couples that have businesses or that can work together in terms of your careers. Good. What advice do you have for someone or couples who feel unseen in their marriage or their job or their creative pursuits?
I think if you're feeling unseen in any of those aspects, I think you have to look in the mirror.
Wow.
Because a lot of times we want other people to see us when in reality we just want ourselves to see us.
Wow.
If you don't know who you are, how can the world know who you are? Because the world has been telling you who you are for your entire life.
Yes.
And so until you decide to pick up the pen and rewrite that story for yourself,
wow,
you're always going to be a victim of the narrative that other people have given you.
Wow, that's good.
So I think if you feel unseen, start to figure out why that is. Who in your life has made you, before whatever's going on, in your past, in your childhood, wherever that lies, something made you feel unseen that you're carrying.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on that. I think the advice I'd have for couples would be to trust the process. that there are going to be trials, that there are going to be difficulties, there are going to be frustrations, but see those as an opportunity to learn a new lesson.
Yes.
See those moments and work with each other in those moments as a couple to find self-growth within yourself, and know that if you absolutely love this other person and this other person completes you in a sense of just internally, emotionally, mentally, if they are your given partner and God has put them in alignment with you, trust that the tests are just acts of testing your strength.
Yes.
And again, as couples, like when you can get to a place where both of you understand, like, we may have this argument, we may have this disagreement, we may have this conflict in this moment. There's one thing to listen to your partner, but there's another thing on actually hearing them. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to, completely understand exactly where you're coming from. They're not going to completely agree with where you're coming from, and just trust that that's part of y'all's growth as a couple.
Yes.
But they heard you. And as long as you can hear your partner, you can continue to connect, move forward, and grow with your partner. So.
And I think to piggyback off, like, especially within arguments and being married, I think sometimes you have a choice. You can either be happy or you can be right. And deciding which one you would rather be, I write every day. I choose to be happy over being right. And that doesn't mean...
I like that.
And that doesn't mean that you can't be right within yourself or your
Yes.
opinion. It means you don't need to get the other person to agree with you and argue about it and get them to see your side all the time. Sometimes it doesn't need to be that way. You can just choose to allow other people to be and to think and feel the way they need to feel, while you get to do that for yourself. And so I think sometimes, like, you really have to ask yourself in this moment, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right?
Yes, yes. To the couples listening, major nugget there, major nugget. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Now, I'm going to take that home. I want to thank you guys for being on today, Jamie and Jonna. Thank you for being on and taking this time to sit down with me, and I look forward to even connecting with you all in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much. Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of The Overlook Show with Apostle Dwight Buckner Jr. Thank you for tuning in. My wonderful guests, Jamie and Jonna Naegele. They are a tremendous couple here in Atlanta. And tune in, like and subscribe to this episode, like and share. I'll see you next time.